Good morning, you guys. Hi. Good morning, cubies and newbies. I am Sunshine, and I'm here to play with the Rubik's Cubes. I'm the creator of the ABCube method for solving Rubik's Cubes. That's Formula A right there, 4 moves. That's Formula B right there, 8 moves. You'll notice they're commutators. They're mathematical zeros. For every left, there's a right. For every up, there's a down. It does, so all it ever moves is the pieces you want to move, and it doesn't matter which order you do. You can go you can pick up any cube from any scramble or partial scramble and set it down solved with just Formula A and Formula B. It works not just on the little cubes, but on larger cubes like this one, even my favorite Wood Eden cube, 3x3x9. With one minor adaptation, but it's still just Formula A and Formula B. You don't have to memorize parity algorithms. You don't have to memorize any algorithms. It's just these two formulas, and then Formula A brings a color to the top. Formula B moves 3 pieces around. How it's done is you hold your cube, and you look at the front of the cube as if it were a spreadsheet of columns and rows. And those arrows over there, you pick with the cube that you want to move dictates which column and row you're using. For Formula A for corners, it's the bottom row, right column. For Formula A for centers, it'd be the center row and the center column. And for Formula B for corners, it's the top row and 2 outside columns. For edges, it's the top row and 1 outside column, 1 inside column. Anyone? And for corners, it's Formula B with 1 top row and 2 inside columns. Now you don't have to memorize which columns move what, because the piece that you're trying to move dictates what the columns are. The first column is where you want it to land, and the second column is where it began. So you don't have to remember. That's all you need to do is A and B, and I'm going to put it on a keychain for you. So that's it. Let me demonstrate real quick before I start. How you guys all doing this morning? Got good plans for the weekend? Fun plans for the weekend? I have preloaded these cubes to demonstrate the A and B formula. Okay, so this cube, most of it's solved. You're looking at just the top layer and just the corners. When you get to this step, I usually do corners first, so mine don't usually look like this. But when you get to this step, either all of the corners are going to be in the correct place, or one side will match, no sides will match, or 2 sides will match. So you look at the corners. First thing you do is bring your color to the top, which I've already done. Formula A. So I'm looking here, and I'm looking just at the corners. The yellow's on top, so I'm looking at the other 2 colors, and to see if they match to each other. We're ignoring the centers and edges. We're just looking at the corners. So blue does not equal green, orange does not equal blue, but red equals red. So either all of the corners will match to each other, like these ones do, or none of the corners will match to each other, in which case it doesn't matter which way you hold it to start, but you do the same thing, or one side matches. If one side matches, you put it away from you. And you do to rearrange these pieces, Formula B is going to move these 3 pieces around. So yellow's on top, matching corners face away. I rotate the top row away and then bring this first up. I rotate the top back, second up, away, down, back, down. Okay, so mathematical zero, nothing changed down below. The only thing that changed is these 3 pieces moved around. And so you can see now that each cube, that the cubes are where they want to be. Let's bring, yellow will bring the color back, Formula A will bring the color back to the top. So since this is the piece that wants to be affected, I hold it here under my right thumb, and bottom row, right column, out, down, in, up. Is my yellow on top? Not yet. So I keep going. Yellow's on top. Good. So I want to protect this because it's in the correct space, but there's more to work on. So I'm going to move this out of the way to keep it safe. And I'm going to continue my formula A on this piece. Out, down, in, up. Out, down, in, up. That's correct. So I slide it out of the way and keep going. Out, down, in, up. Out, down, in, up. And yellow's back on top. The sides are correct to each other. Set the top, and that's done. So that's if you're working layer by layer. And so formula A is always going to switch these two pieces and a couple of the edges as well, but 6 times around is going to make everything back to the start, except for the top row if you have affected it in the middle. So it's great for if the cube is in the right place and you just want to bring it back to the top. Formula A does that. If the cube is not in the right place and you need to move the cubes around, Formula B does that, and then A brings it back to the top. So for the corners, that's what that would look like. For the edges, let's see here. Water. For the edges, okay, the corners are done, and the centers are done. The edges need to be moved. They're not in the correct place. I've done, the corners are all done, and the corners dictate what color the sides are going to be. So Formula B moves a piece from the top front to the side, depending on which column you used first. So let's move this piece because it's on top and it doesn't belong there. So I move the top, I move the cube so that the corners match the front. It's going into the left, the green direction, and so I've lined it up, and now Formula B, applying Formula B to this piece so it lands here, will be this row, first column and second column. I just mark it with my thumbtack there so that I can follow it. You guys can follow what I'm doing with my eyes. So away, up, in, second up, away, down, in, second down. And that's placed. And I look for another piece that doesn't have yellow on the top, like this one. And so the corners match the front. It's going in the blue direction. So away, first up, back, second up, away, down, back, down. So it's still Formula B. It's still slide up, slide down, slide down. But if you apply it to the outside columns, you move the corners. Outside and inside, you move an edge piece. If you want to move a center piece, let's say that this yellow really wants to be up on the top, on the red side. Slide the top to orient it so it's going to land where you want it to land. And then you go up, slide the top so that you have a different column to work with. You need 2 columns. Second up, away, down, back, down. So that is the short of it for Formula B. Works on corners and edges and centers, so it's all you need. And you'll always be moving 3 pieces around. It looked like I moved 2 pieces here, but we can demonstrate that I didn't by putting this piece where that yellow is. And so this blue's going to go here. You think the yellow's going to go here, but it's not. It's always 3. It demonstrates that it's 3 pieces. So you go up, slide up, reverse, down, set the top, and this piece did move to the top, and the yellow moved here. So it's these 3 pieces. There's always going to be 3 pieces that you're moving, because there will always be 3 pieces to move. If you have what is called a parity. A parity is something, because the 3x3 was the original, and something that happens on a 4x4 or larger that you can't see on the 3x3, they call it a parity. And it looks confusing because there's only it looks like there's two pieces that need to move and only two pieces that need to move. And all of your formulas are going to move three pieces or more. So the difference is that parity, I don't have my, if you had a void cube, which is a 3x3 with the center invisible, they've just organized the workings of the cube so that you can see through the cube. Then you can have a parity on the 3x3, and the reason is because you can't tell if the center cube is turned correctly, and if it's positioned correctly to the cube, then you won't have a parity. But if it's an odd number of turns off, you will have a parity. Even number, you won't. So, for example, all right, let's put this yellow to the top using formula A. Out, down, in, up. Okay, so it's 0 moves away from being solved, but if I rotated it this way, and the center was 1/4 turn off, and then I solved the edges as if I couldn't see what the centers were, it would end up with a parity. And the parity is there because the center is 1/4 turn off. And the same thing, if you have a 4x4 and you have a parity, the parity is because that center is 1/4 turn off, but you couldn't tell because it didn't have an absolute center to look at. So whenever you have a parity, whatever it looks like, whether they're opposite, whether they're adjacent, whether they're different sides of a face, depending on how you've solved your cube, anytime you have a parity, just make 1/4 turn on the slice that touches that parity, one or both of them, and then solve the cube in that state, and the parity disappears. You don't have to memorize a big old long parity or 2 or 3 or 4. So you just don't have to. Now, so this is not the fastest method because, it's it's very basic. It's also not the fewest moves method. But in my opinion, with just formula A and formula B solving all of these, I'd say that it is the simplest one to learn because it's just 2. And the cube dictates what the columns and rows have to be. So that's the overview. It's Friday, and I've been working a little bit, whittling down on the solve of these cubes for this week. And so one day I did the corners, which solves the 2x2 and dictates on all the other cubes what colors the sides are going to be. And then the next day I did the edges, the opposite edges, and then the next day I did the side edges. So 2 days to do the edges, and then the 3x3 is done, and all of the rest of them have corners and edges there to be a visual reminder to me which pieces I'm moving around as I'm moving the pieces around. So for instance, let's pick a piece. The solving of a cube with the ABCube method is very simple. You pick a piece that is not where it wants to be, whether it's a corner, the edge, or a center. You just pick a piece that's not where it wants to be. You determine which direction it wants to go. So it's white. It's on the green face, but it's white, so it's incorrect. So I hold the cube so white's on top because this piece is going to move up. And I'm going to line it up so that something is advantageous will come down. So I want to bring the green down. Now I could use formula A, and I can do that for the first face that I'm solving, which would be to move this piece away, move the space down, move the piece into the space, and the piece in the space back up again, and then set the top. The problem is that formula A affects all 6 sides, so you can really only do that for one face. So I just don't even teach it as part of the ABCube method. So I'll find a piece. Here's a red piece, It's incorrect on the green slice, so I hold it so that red's on top. Okay, and so this piece will land here in the corner, so I can either bring up the green or this green or this orange. But if I treat these two as one, I can move both of them at the same time. I don't want to bring the blue down, and it's not advantageous to swap the reds, so I'm just going to line it up that way. And then I'm going to move this piece up to here using Formula B. So the first horizontal was to set it up, line it up so it's advantageous. And then the first up is where my cube is. On the centers, the first up is where my cube is, so that goes up. I rotate the top to a second column, and then this is my second column. Okay, now my edges are done, so they're reminding me which column I'm on. So I I don't get confused at what reverse is. So the reverse lines up these oranges. So the edges are there as a visual clue to remind me where I am. If I get confused and go the other direction, they don't line up, so I know it's wrong. So I line it up. The edges are there to remind me, and down. So it's slide up, slide up, slide down, set the top. That piece is placed, and do the same thing over and over and over again. Just pick a different piece. Green, move the green to the front. This will move this piece, maybe that one. This will move this piece and maybe that one. Those aren't advantageous. But this piece will move these two. So I'm going to keep these together. I'm going to go up, slide to a different column, second up, reverse, down, set the top, and keep going. These yellows are together. Let's see if I can keep them that way. Sometimes I can, sometimes I can't. Okay, let's bring down these whites there. So line it up, first up, move it to the different column, second up, reverse, down. And again, you don't have to remember, see, if I use these columns, this happens. If I use these columns, this happens. No, you just pick a piece that you want to move. Here's the blue. It's going to the top. Line it up so something advantageous can happen. So this can change with either this green, this red, this white, or this orange. Green is more advantageous because it's an opposite of the blue. So up, slide, up, reverse, down. And that's it. A and B solves every cube. Every n by n cube. It works very well on other cubes, on other puzzles that are not cubes. I can use it to solve this one. I can use it to solve this one mostly. For this one, when I get to the last face edges, I have to use two algorithms from the beginner's method to be able to set the edges right. But the corners I can do with so this does most. ABCube method does most of this and all of this. It does not work on shapeshifters like the square one or things like that, but it does work on anything on this one. So that's fun. And once you've learned it, there's nothing more to learn. Once you've mastered the corners with this method, everything else except the absolute center is just B. And so you're doing it over and over and over again, so it's difficult to forget. And you just let the pieces dictate which one. So example, here's a white. White's on top. I can bring this blue down, or I can bring this blue down and this orange down, or I can bring these yellows down. I'm going to do that. So up, slide up, reverse, down. So seriously, take a picture of A and B on your phone. You don't need to carry around a cheat sheet. And it does not take months to learn, weeks to learn. It literally, when I teach it in real life or online, I do teach online, and over the phone, to hear my sister. When I do teach, it takes about 2 sessions, an hour or less each. The first session I just teach the corners, then you're learning the A and you're learning the B. When you mastered the corners, then I say, okay, now use formula B this way, and by between an hour and a half and 2 hours, people that I teach are comfortable picking up any cube from any state of scramble or solve, and picking it up and putting it down solved. It's not, like I said, it's not fast, it's not short, but it's because it's so redundant, it's calming and relaxing for me. It's very therapeutic for me. I find it almost hypnotic as I'm solving the cube, and also the reason why I love Rubik's Cubes is not because I'm fast but I mean, it's fun to teach. I love teaching people. But the reason I love a Rubik's Cube is no matter how it's twisted, no matter how it's messed up, no matter how scrambled life can get, once you understand the workings of the cube, then all you need to, then what you do the thing and the cube responds. It just has to. It's, how many things in life do you have that much control over? When you're surrounded by chaos, I can pick up, if my life is out of control, I can pick up a cube, scramble it, and solve it, which helps my mind focus and quiet and block out the other things, and it helps me get back into a positive, a good, comfortable, peaceful state of mind. So I'm different from other people who like racing themselves to see how much better they can do. My happy chemical, can't remember the name of happy chemical right now, comes from bringing peace to my chaotic world as represented by the cube, and being able to take someone who is completely intimidated by the cube, thinks, oh, it's really great that you are that kind of genius, but I am not that kind of genius. I will scramble it for you, and you can demonstrate your genius for me, but I could never do that. And I just put a cube in their hand and say, okay, do this, and they do that, and do this, and they do that, and lo and behold, their corner comes to the top, and they're like, oh my goodness, it works. And I teach the cube, but I don't teach the cube. What I actually teach is confidence, and an awareness that things that you can make something hard, or you can let it be easy, but it's your decision. I mean, I was teaching my niece over the weekend last, and she had mastered the corners, and she was really excited about that. I normally don't teach people with a 2x2 first, because for this very reason. When I teach them a small cube, and then I try to show how the large cube is solved in the same way, there's a mental block that just slams down, and they're like, no, that looks harder. My brain hurts now. I learned this. This is really all I wanted. This is the original. I just wanted to know I can do the original. I can do the corners. I'm good. And so I gave up on that, and I started teaching anyone who wanted to teach. I would get the 2, the 3, the 4, and the 5 together, and I'd say, okay, and I'd hand them the 5x5 to start with, and I'd say, ignore everything but the corners. We're only doing the corners. Nothing else matters. And then I'd say, great, now do this one. Great, now do the corners on this one. And so, the first lesson that they get in the cube is all of the corners, doesn't matter what the cube looks like, all of the corners are solved the same way. And so once they know that they can do the corners, then then they practice with it a little bit. It's a real quick step, and then they realize that they can do all the rest of them too. And I just slipped past those mental blocks that they were going to put, saying, no, it's too hard. But anyway, so my niece, she said, my grandniece, she says, no, that looks too hard. I'll just do this one. I'm like, okay, but you just made a choice. You just put a block in your head, in your brain, to say that this new thing is going to be difficult to learn. And that was a choice that you made. And you can make that choice. That's just fine. You don't have to learn these cubes. They're fun for me. And if they want them to be fun for you, then you can have fun with them. But you just put a block saying it was going to be hard. Now, you can believe that, but I promise you that this cube and this cube are solved exactly the same way, and you already know how to do that. So if you decide that you want to learn, if you decide, you can remove that block because it's yours, you put it there, and you can learn this as easily as your sister is there if you want to. And so she thought about it for a minute, and she said, okay, show me. Show me the next. And so that's just the ultimate fun for me, is to be able to watch people realize that they can do what they thought only geniuses can do. They can do it. And they're so that's happy for me. I just love doing that. Anyway, that's it for me today. I did have not finished them. I will finish them for tomorrow, for later on. But I'm going to go have my day. I will be back here. I'm here every weekday morning. I will. Ooh, don't bump my camera. I will also be back. I'll be back this evening, 6ish my time, and tomorrow morning 9ish. So if you have any non-cuber friends, or you want to help me demonstrate how this method works, I have set up to incorporate my Zoom into my Twitch, so I can teach 3 to 4 people live streaming on Zoom at a time, and as long as I can capture that with my Twitch to live stream, the lessons are free. So anybody who wants to learn or wants to learn a new method, if most of you, I mean, I know you guys are already cubers. I know you guys who leave me in the dust in this being a competition. But anyway, thank you for spending your morning with me. Go have a wonderful day, and if you wanna, I'll be back here this afternoon, and I'll be here tomorrow, and I'll be here next week. So go be nice to yourselves. Bye.